Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Strifium, and you are here with Unicorn and I for some fantastic racing around Spa, and it's the 5th campaign of the week, I should say, Unicorn. And what should we expect around here? First off, how you doing?
I'm doing excellently, and yeah, the 5th and final race around Spa, I think, we've had a fairly varied week in terms of the races, at least the ones that I've commentated. We had Tuesday where the grid was fairly separated, in different pockets of battles all around the track, compared to yesterday in Tier 2 at least, where we had a 7-car train just going at each other for a good 25% of the race. So Spa, it's, one of the most popular races in all of sim racing, I think, let alone just F1. But yeah, a very exciting track, and I'm looking forward to see what the guys in the club division can do around here.
A lot of elevation change around here. It is a fantastic circuit, as you said, iconic, not only in just F1, but just in motor racing in general, of course. Taking a look at not only Belgium this week for round 14 of Club Division, we have, of course, been through the entirety of Season 3 with Club, and we're here for round 14 in Belgium. Next week we have Monza, following that Singapore, Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi. It's going to be a very action-packed end of the season. This grid is, as we've said throughout the season now, somewhat of the sandbox division here in the Misfits Racing League. There's a lot of speed in this grid, and there's a lot of great battling. I think they provided us probably one of the best virtual Austria races in existence. I mean, I know it sounds cocky, but it was just so thrilling. It was definitely one of my favorites. I think you could probably share in that, Unicorn. Let's take a look, of course, at the drivers that are going to be lining up on this grid for the full-time race today. It is going to be over at Mercedes. We have ZZ9 and Fraser. They have such team dynamics. Then we have Alex Biddo and Jake. We have Ben the Bear and Remco Van Putten. Then we have Mito and Burke. Following that, we have Seb and Zamis. I don't believe Zamis will be attending the race today. I'm not entirely sure. He may be having some issues that he has to work with at home. Of course, Freeware and Finn over at AlphaTauri. Burke Khan and Jones over at Racing Point. Shenjay and Money over at Alfa Romeo. We have Tom and Severn XTXP for Haas. And then we have Emre and Domi for Williams. I do believe there are a couple drivers that are no longer driving full-time roles. I think XTXP is no longer full-time here in Club, but he is, of course, in the European grid. And I believe Emre is no longer racing in the division, and we're working to find replacements. So if you guys are interested in racing in a fantastic, tight, action-packed grid, as you may see here, feel free to jump on the Discord. We are looking for drivers always for all of our grids. Let's take a look at the standings really quick before we get into racing. Domi, Kai Bacchini, and Liam, your top 3 right now. No, this is Tier 2. My mistake. I have to get my appropriate standings up for Club. Disregard. Kai Bacchini doesn't race in Club Division, does he? Alex Biddo.
Very impressive.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Alex Biddo, 178 points. We have ZZ9 at 175 points. And then Shenjay in third, 157. Absolutely tight championship. At the front of this, Ben the Bear, who's an absolute speed demon there in fourth. You have Fraser in fifth. Things are packed the entirety through that top 10 and even further through into the back 10. Of course, Shenjay was demoted from P3 following after the race. The stewards reviewed the race penalties. So Shenjay was demoted from P3 to P6. Now drivers are advised to take special care through Spa-Francorchamps. We've had a busy week over, well, the stewards have had a busy week over there because of all of the, well, very intense racing we've seen. Let's take a look now as we are ready to go racing here, Unicorn. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Spa is one of these. It's not so much tricky to overtake in terms of like a Monza scenario, but it's such a long circuit that you'd think you could overtake in more places. But realistically, there are only a few really excellent overtaking spots that you're guaranteed to, be able to push the other drivers. Whereas you've got Eau Rouge, we've seen a few drivers try and go side by side through there. That doesn't work out as we'd like it, and down into the chicane as well. There's a lot of places you can make moves through these corners, but it's a little bit more touch and go than it is. We've seen some really excellent overtakes down into turn 7, which is up by Lecombe, but yeah, I think it's always an exciting race around Spa. 19 drivers ready and waiting to go here. And weather has played a role in a fair chunk of these races so far this week.
Well, it definitely has. We had a little bit of a rain dynamic in the European grid. That was on Tuesday, of course. We had the wet qualifying in that race as well. Then we moved through into the Oceanic grid yesterday morning. That was, of course, it was a dry campaign, but the drivers were told there would be wet weather at the end. The weather didn't actually come until after the checkered flag. It just started raining. Then we had Tier 2, and then we had Tier 1. And there wasn't really any rain in those races, but the forecast was calling for rain in Tier 2. So the big question is, when are we going to actually see the rain? We've been getting forecasted rain all week. We had it only in the one session for the qualifying where it really played a major role.
Yeah, and whilst we wait for everyone to load in, let's see whether we've got a dry circuit or not.
It appears we do have a dry circuit here. 18 minutes of qualifying these drivers are going to have to get a lap in to get them positioned in their best possible slot on this grid. Of course, 19 drivers on the grid now. Tillman Sever, Remco Van Putten, we have Money, Burka Khan, Jake. Zamis is present and racing, which is fantastic to see. So perhaps it was something with his upload speed that he was referring to earlier. Of course, we have Ben the Bear in 7th, Steph in 8th. That's Fraser there in 9th with Cotters in 10th. Burke in 11th, Wisp in 12th, Freeware in 13th. We have Nigel there in the timing tower as well here for Williams. ZZ9 over in the Mercedes. Mito, Mikau, Shenjay, and Alex Bido. The grid is already starting to get, the circuit, I should say, is already starting to get jam-packed here. The first driver out is Burke in the McLaren Unicorn.
Yeah, well, I've just had a weather report from Mikau, who is indeed racing here this evening, and he says it's cloudy with a chance of meatballs, except no meatballs. So, forecast is just cloudy for the race.
Well, these drivers are going to get an opportunity to go flat out, and we saw what that can yield in yesterday's Tier 1 race. That race was extremely dynamic. There was a lot of upsets, key moments. Ace Ritchie coming up through a Rouge just on the curb. He tapped it the wrong way. He slid right out in front of Becky, collecting the Mercedes. And then we had the issue coming down through No Name, where Remco Van Putten had the spin, and it was BTFU that was unfortunately collected by his teammate in that one. So there is definitely a chance of some drama, at the very least, if we aren't going to see some rain regardless.
Yeah, drama, I think, is a word that Spa could be, definitely add to its description, its resume, as Burke gets set to start his first flying lap of the session. Coming across the line in the McLaren, down into La Source, turn 1. It's very tight. Hairpin, pretty much everyone right now on an out lap or a flyer. Just 3 drivers still in the pit lane.
This is where it happened yesterday. It was on the opposite curb. It was on the left-hand side curb coming up the hill where we saw Ace Ritchie lose it, and where we're going to see a lot of drivers really tempting fate flying up that hill. It's probably the #1 hotspot for incidents on this circuit. It has been this week, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm not just blowing smoke. That is where things do get very intense here in Spa.
I mean, you can crash there with or without another driver alongside you, so it's definitely somewhere to keep your eyes peeled. People just spin. It's such a tricky corner to get right, as Burke invalidating through full on.
Not going to be too thrilled about that. Next driver behind him, Freeware. Now, Freeware in Tier 1 yesterday, he had some issues. He had an issue going in Upper Rouge, as we were just talking about it. Opening lap, his car got caught. I believe he might have just been on the curb, wrong place, wrong time. I don't know. It was very tight moving up the hill, but he got things spun around. Fortunately enough, though, he did not retire the car in that case. But it definitely wrenched his race. He had started in the top 10. And he fell back to the rear of the grid instantaneously.
And here he comes across the line. It's a 141.4 to open up qualifying. His teammate Codders not setting a lap time, presumably an invalidation for him. Remco Van Putten 4/10 off of Freeware's time.
His teammate Ben the Bear is following him right now. And he is on the medium, starting his first flying lap, it would seem. A few more drivers to the line now, looking for the Ferrari of Alex Bitto. He jumps in to the front row with a 141.8. Jake, his teammate, full time now, a 141.955. Zamis is in the Renault. That's a 141.9, and things are starting to ramp up here on the grid. Current gap to the leader from P7, excuse me, is a 1.2. ZZ9 is very, very tight to the rear of that AlphaTauri as he crosses into the front row, Unicorn. It was a very, very blistering time within a 1/10 of a second, a 141.536.
Yeah, and I'm looking around for flying laps. There's a few invalidations. You got Burke. He's on an invalidated one. We've got Wisp as well, invalidating his lap time.
Ito flying, Ben the Bear flying. Ben the Bear just coming down through into Sector 3. He's on those medium compound tires, the only driver on this grid on the medium compound tires, and guess what? That's a purple second sector. Very quick. We've seen Ben all season long. Now, one thing to note here with Ben, since the introduction of the Oceanic grid, he's full-time on 2 grids here in the Misfits Racing League, and he's got quite some stiff competition in the Oceanic grid. He almost collected a win yesterday in a fight with Revo. Of course, he comes 3rd fastest here on the mediums now. It was a 141.6, but yes, back to the Oceanic talk for a moment. Ben, with a P2 yesterday in the Oceanic grid, he's been hunting down Revo, the Sauber Esports development driver, and they've been having a fantastic season so far. And I do believe that race standing is in review by stewards presently, so of course more info can be found about that on Racing Hub. But I don't know if Revo might lose the win there. I've heard that there was an incident that could see him out of that lead position, so we'll have to see how that comes. Of course, back to the club tier action here as Steph jumps into the pit lane in the Renault. Only 10 drivers have set laps here so far. A few drivers on out laps now, Unicorn.
Yeah, again, Nigel invalidating his lap, so these drivers, they're just trying to push these boundaries to the absolute limit. Burke Alkis, he's on a flyer now in the other McLaren, just started. His teammate Mito hopped into 8th place with 1.24.
Mito has had a big issue. We caught it, and I have to say that was a terrible snap of steering coming down out of the hill. Ooh, so that's a terminal retirement here in qualifying for Mito. Just as you said, his teammate flying
and crashing out at the early qualifying stages like that. Not what you want to be doing. Obviously, crashing out at any time is not ideal, but you're not going to set your best time 7.5 minutes into the qualifying session, so, well, not typically anyway. So he's going to be very disappointed that he's done that.
That was a very tough crash, and we've had a fair few big ones in Spa this week. I have to say, it's the safety car has been quite active. Burke on quite the time right now. Flying purple through Sector 2 now, coming through Sector 3 through Blanchemont.
Yeah, it's been a clean consistent lap from the McLaren. I wouldn't be surprised to see this skyrocket him into one of the high positions on this timing tower. Out of the final corner, it's a 1:41.7 from Burke, which puts him P4 just ahead of Alex Biddo.
NJ, he's flying, or he at the very least was. You got both Alfa Romeos right now flying through into Sector 3 on invalidated laps. And there goes Money. Oh, wow. Money is out. He just spun it. Where did we see? Who can we find that will get a view of this? Zamis. On the inside is where we saw, of course, Money retire it. Looks like he took a bit too much curb, spun it off, and wrenched that car to the inside. Zamis on an outlap right now. Didn't get to see the car, but we definitely did here on the cast, so that's definitely tough luck for him. Wisp coming down the hill.
Yeah, and Wisp's one of these drivers. I've seen him on a few invalidated flyers so far. One or two. And now on the medium compounder tyres, and it's a fairly long lap around Spa, so he doesn't have too many more opportunities. And if he's been invalidating, it's a risky strat going for the mediums, but if he thinks he can put in a lap time that's competitive, obviously Ben the Bear placed pretty highly on the mediums, so it is possible, but yeah, Wisp right now opting for the yellow walled tyre, coming into the final sector.
And the Bear setting that time on the mediums, as he said, he is on an outlap right now with the soft compound tires equipped on that Red Bull. Going down into the chicane now is the Haas of Wisp. Passing through that inside curb of 18 through now 19. DRS wide open on the rear wing as he gets through on the exit. What's it going to be? It's a P9, a 142.4 on the medium compound tires. And if he's able to maintain a top 10 on those mediums, could prove to be quite beneficial for him.
Yeah, P9, if he finishes there, it's not a bad place to be, but there's plenty of soft runners still out there. We've got Fraser, Nigel, Mikau, Shenjay. None of these guys are setting lap times. Codders. So I don't think he's already been bumped down once already, and I think that was his teammate Tiemann Sever. As Fraser, there he is, speak of the devil, a 141 flat coming out of the Mercedes. Flies into pole position, or provisional pole.
Fraser, of course, the founder of this division. Very happy to see him come through here and quali pull off to the inside there. Hopefully he doesn't get any kind of flag just on that pit exit line there. But of course, his teammate coming through now, ZZ9, and we were talking about this team dynamic that we've seen out of the Mercedes team. We saw it most notably in the Vietnam race, but here we have it coming down the Kemmel Straight. Look at the tow that Fraser is providing. We saw it in Tier 1 yesterday between the German and Spaniard. That's Brownie and Alex Biddo I'm referring to. Of course, Alex Biddo is racing here in P2, but he did not get the tow that he gave Brownie. And let's take a look at how this benefits ZZ9.
Yeah, Alex Biddo's just set that time 6/10 up on his previous best. Also worth noting, Codders came off through a Rouge and retired his car through there with terminal damage, so still causing a few problems for these drivers.
Very, very happy to see team tactics, team dynamics coming into play here. That's what we really want in the Misfits Racing League. We want people to work with one another. We have the combined constructors element in the Tier 2, Tier 1 grids right now, so your teams are essentially of 4. We've got big plans coming for that with Season 4 that's going to just blow the door wide open for virtual league racing. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's all going to happen right here on the Twitch channel. Thank you everybody who's been viewing with us. Of course, let's take a look now. ZZ9 coming into the chicane. He had that amazing tow down the Kemmel Straight, and let's take a look at the inside curve of 19 as he gets on the exit. That DRS, what's the time going to be? It's pole position. Unicorn, a 7/10 improvement from him, and it's very, very fast. A 140.825, a 100th of a second up on where Ben the Bear landed, and Ben the Bear is not a slouch by any means, so it's a Mercedes Red Bull front row. What a lap. Wow.
Yeah, Ben, I was on board with Ben. He was 5/10 up coming through sector 3 around Blanchimont, and then the time just didn't register for me until ZZ9 set his, so I wasn't quite aware of how tight those times were until after ZZ9 had set his. But yeah, impressive times coming out of the pair of them. Obviously Ben not with the slipstream that ZZ9 had, and I think they could probably put the 100th of a second down to that slipstream, and if you've got the teamwork, you may as well put it to good use. You've got Ben's teammate Remco, he's on a flyer right now, just started I believe. Flying out of turn 1. But yeah, a really excellent lap coming out of both of those drivers currently sitting on the front row, and you know, more power to them, like you said, for that teamwork. It's always great to see them working together.
One driver I'd like to take our attention to is a driver that, if I'm not mistaken, drove last week and won the race here as a reserve. That's Mikau. Of course, for those that don't know, Mikau is quite a fast racer, but he is, perhaps for many of the Misfits Racing League fans or viewers, he's the Tier 1 commentator that sits next to me every Thursday. And he races full-time in the Oceanic Grid. He took a podium here yesterday in very tough company. It was Revo with that win on circuit, Ben the Bear in second, Mikau collected third. Now he's here in Club Division. He took a win, if I'm not mistaken, here in Hungary last week when I was absent. But I'm back, and of course, he'll be looking to do something just like that here. He's coming down through Sector 2. He's about to cross through the split unicorn. What are you thinking about Mikau here today?
Well, like you said, Mikau he's a jack of all trades. He can commentate, and he's absolutely rapid on track as well. And now coming through Blanchimont, I see him as one of the, you know, key competitors in this race, provided, you know, through lap 1 and such cleanly. Obviously that could play a little bit of a role around the final corner, but yeah, Mikau, whenever I see him on track, it's just impressive stuff, and it's a 141.3, put him into the final slot in the top 5, but yeah, Mikau, very quick driver, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him finish in that top 5 either.
Mikau is a very composed driver in many situations. I also have the pleasure of racing alongside him as teammates in leagues outside of Misfits, and he has got to be one of the most helpful people that I've come across. And of course, he is the circuit guy developer for the Misfits, and you can find all of those fantastic in-depth looks at the circuits we've been through this season on the YouTube channel. But he has done so much work to really break down this game now. Now you can see he's pulled off, and why has he pulled off here? Maybe there's no communication going, but he's pulled off to maybe try and give Burke even the slightest little bit of a tone. No, he just wants to make sure his teammate gets a clean run here. Damas is on a flyer coming through the Kemmel Straight now.
Oh, Steph with a 6-second improvement. Only jumping Wisp for the time being. His time set on the mediums, now out on the softs, but there's still a lot of people here yet to set lap times. We've got Fraser flying, and ZZ9 and Ben the Bear both on outlap, so their little duel up at the top isn't over. And Alex Bitter as well, he's on an outlap, so this qualifying session, despite only having a minute left on the clock, is far from over here, Striff, and I think we're about to have one very, very tight battle for pole.
I think you're definitely right on that one. Somebody who's going to be looking to get themselves further up. Damas in that Renault. Let's take a look at the gap to leader right now. From first down through to 11th position, you have a 1 second gap. Damas is the last of those, and he's not going to be improving, Unicorn. He's had a big crash. Mikau slows things down on his in-lap. Zamis has touched the curb where we saw it happen to Money earlier. And that's 2 drivers out there, and hopefully nobody hits him here. And that is a very fast Mercedes flying by. That was Fraser on an invalidated lap right now. His teammate ZZ9 is going to be starting a lap presently, and it's Ben the Bear, as you said, going to be looking to improve from P2 to pole. Coming up through
Ben's invalidated.
Ooh, yes he did, coming through Lacombe. Not going to be too thrilled about that is the Thai driver, ZZ9. Doesn't really need to do anything now. He doesn't need to push.
Well, there's a hard-charging Alex Biddo.
Well, I thought twice there now. We have Alex Biddo hunting down times as well in the Ferrari.
Yeah, just coming out of turn 11. I'm interested to see what the Spaniard can do. We know he is very quick, but he's invalidated as well through full-on. So he is not going to be happy with himself either, as that's Freeware hopping into P3. Nicely done from him, and ZZ9 right now is going to be happy that those two have invalidated, because he's actually down on his previous best time out of Sector 1. And I think that's pretty much wrapping things up for qualifying. I think the only people left are Shenjay and Nigel. Nigel's invalidated. Shenjay then, possibly the last person who's really going to make an impact on this session.
Well, I think he's going to jump somewhere real high up here. Where's he going to go? He's going to go P4. He knocks Fraser down a spot. So he says, hello, I'm still here, ladies and gentlemen. And he does a good time there. No improvement as a result of the invalidated lap, and ZZ9 coming through the chicane is going to finish out this lap, but it's not going to be good enough for an improvement as he was not up. Wisp is on an invalidated lap on his way into the pit lane here as well. So I do believe that is your top 10 confirmed. ZZ9, Ben, Freeware, Shenjay, Fraser, Alex Bido. We have Mikau, Burke, Tillman, Sever, and the Dutchman of Remco van Putten rounding out the top 10 racers here in this one. And we'll go down through that once again in just a second. But it's a very tight grid. A very, very tight grid in this race. And quite a few drivers didn't even set times in this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
ZZ9, once again, taking that pole position, a 140.8 from him, a hundredth of a second ahead of the tie driver in the Red Bull. That's Ben the Bear, and it's the German, that's Freeware in the Alpha Tower, rounding out your top three here. Shenjay in the Alfa Romeo, fourth. Fraser in the other Mercedes in fifth. Of course, we'll go down through the rest of this grid on the formation lap.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look at that gap between Ben and ZZ9. 0.011. If ZZ9 had set that lap he just did at the end there as his best time, despite being less than a tenth slower than his previous best, he would not be on pole position. And I'm excited to see these two go toe-to-toe if they can keep that sort of pace up, or at least a scaled-down version of that race trim pace. Because if they're that tight throughout this entire race, it's going to be very exciting. There is that cloud that Mikau warned us of, although apparently it is just cloud. It's just here to make it appear a little bit gloomy just ahead of Halloween.
I'm going to hold out for a minute here and say, okay, we had a safety car recently where the safety car changed the weather forecast. We've had safety cars here all week. It's cloudy. He didn't say if there was going to be any sun. Maybe we see some rain. I always hold out for some rain. Especially here at Spa.
I mean, if there's going to be a race for it, especially with how long a safety car can last around there, if you get 2 laps, it's, 5 minutes.
It's quite a significant amount of time.
So it's definitely possible if those clouds do decide that, they're not going to hold out and they're just going to let loose. As Alex Bido seems to have had some sort of connection issue. We'll get him a new invite.
Hopefully Alex Bido able to get back in here. But his car is in P6. We know what happens when a driver has a desync on a formation lap, Unicorn, and it is, full disclosure, possible that we see Alex Bido have an AI car start the race for him. Take you through this grid once again. ZZ9 on pole. That's Ben the Bear lining up on the front row next to him. Second row, that's Freeware and Shenjay. Third row back, it's Fraser and Alex Bido. There he is getting back into session here. Hopefully he can get into that car. Mikau in 7th, Burke in 8th. We have Tillman Sever in 9th with Remco van Putten in that Red Bull rounding out the top 10 and the last of the top 10 on those softs, of course. You have Wisp on the mediums in 11th, Jake in 12th on mediums as well. Zamis has chosen softs. He's in 13th. His teammate Steph for this occasion right behind him on the mediums. Mito, Burke on mediums as well, 15th, 16th respectively. Money has opted for softs as well outside the top 10. Very interesting strategy coming out of the Alfa Romeo in 17th. But of course, Cotters and Nigel 18 and 19 respectively here on the mediums. So a little bit of a difference in strategy. Nobody on the hards in this one yet.
I think the softs are a strong shout here. I've been really impressed with the tire life out of the softs, and I think that the pace that they hold is still competitive as well. So coming into this, I'm not surprised that we've got the likes of Zamus and Money on those soft compound tires. But the mediums as well, you can just do the exact opposite. Instead of going soft to medium, you just go mediums to softs. But it all depends which strategy is going to be best. Regarding those safety cars, I think Zamus and Money, those guys on the softs outside of the top 10, banking on an earlier safety car to come in just the right moment. And we have seen that work out.
One thing to note as we approach the grid here, we can see a red X above the nameplate for Alex Biddo's Ferrari in P6, so we'll keep an eye on that as we get into this race start, but it is possible that we'll see that car with a little bit of an early jolt here. Of course, Unicorn, all drivers approaching the grid, please do us the honor, take us away here around Belgium.
Absolutely, there we go, everyone loading in. Don't know what's happened to Alex Biddo's car. It looks like it's been completely removed from the grid here. Everyone else, there's no timing sequence to speak of right now. Alex Biddo apparently now in first. Going to my timing tower.
Well, we may have a restart here. We had this issue in Oceanic yesterday, believe it or not, where all of the drivers were completely stationary on grid. You can see even the Red Bull of Ben the Bear, his car is slightly off kilter here on that start line. Trying to get a good view of it, but I can't. You can just see that that back right tire is a little bit off. He's in on an angle in that grid slot, and I do believe we are going to get a restart here. Get a quick confirmation. Mikau, who is on this grid, is the kind of the main guy that'll make the call. He is a... Oh, we have lights going on, but is this racing time?
That was an excellent question.
Well, there we go. It looks like we are away here.
Yeah, apparently on lap 2, but we are away, and it's Ben the Bear looking around the outside of ZZ9 down into turn 1. That was all very sudden, but it is Ben the Bear. There's a lot of people going wide through turn 1, but Ben the Bear and ZZ9 still battling. It's Ben the Bear in the lead of this race. Do not believe my timing tower at least, and Alex Biddo is right at the back, whether that's an AI-controlled car or just a very unfortunate incident for the Spaniard. But it's Fraser looking at the rear of Shenjie, the end of the train from the top 5. Then behind them we've got the Renault of Zamus diving up the inside of his teammate. Now looking at Remco, someone's lost an end plate. It is Remco Van Putten, but Zamus forced onto the grass. He's going to drop back behind his teammate who goes wide. The two Renaults battling out, and now it's the Ferrari of Jake looking at the rear of Zamus, trying to squeeze his way through past the Renault driver.
Alex Biddo has had a very poor start here as a result of all of the connection issues. I do believe he's back, and he will be hunting down this grid. He's not too far behind, and he's a very, very fast guy. All of these drivers within a second of one another, and there's a big issue for Burke Khan. Has had a massive issue coming out of Poulon. And that is going to be a massive yellow flag here. There's another car pulled off. That's Burke. What's happened with Burke? It looks like he's got front end damage on the front right. No end plate left on that McLaren.
That was rather confusing. I just saw the McLaren spin and then the retirement of the guy with a very similar name. So, yeah. But Beke Alkis, there was no contact. He just lost the rear end of the car and that put him into a spin. As Mikau into the pit lane.
There's a big battle happening in this midfield. There's a ton of position changing happening right now. ZZ9 and Ben the Bear, they've exchanged positions. Ben the Bear into lead of this race. ZZ9 behind him. Freeware is in where he began as well. Let's see what's happening with Mito. Wheel to wheel with Wisp. Coming up through a Rouge. Wisp recovers it, but he has a big slide, and he's very fortunate not to go terminal. There's fast movers coming back through on the rear of him. They get him. Does he have damage? No, he does not. He is so fortunate not to be out of this race. Coming too wide up through a Rouge into Radeon, of course. That was very touch and go for them.
One thing I have noticed, we do seem to have lost a lap. We're apparently on lap 3, as Nigel and Steph, they're going side by side, coming down into 11, and Nigel getting a very nicely done move on the Renault. It looks like the timing tower has finally sorted itself out.
I think we're back to where it needs to be now. Yeah, lap 2. We've got Alex Bido down 10 positions. Mikal is apparently up 10 positions, but definitely not. But he is the first driver to come into the pit lane here ahead of Burke. Very, very intense race start. Kind of caught us off guard on the race start. We didn't know if it was in reality that the race was going to begin with those lights or not, but Mikal, I think he took a bit of damage. Not entirely sure. He's decided to pit for hards. Could be trying a completely different strategy here. Could be banking on a potential safety car later on, but there goes Money into the chicane ahead of Mito. And then Jake and Remco Van Putten, they are having a battle. Zamis has been on a charge. He's absolutely flying. He's made it quite far ahead of the Dutchman. Of course, Remco missing that front right end plate right now. Jake with no damage on the front end of that Ferrari and the medium compound tires is going to start pulling some pace on that Red Bull in a little bit. But of course, no DRS for these drivers just yet. It's not until Kemmel Straight where we're going to see the rear wing on the Ferrari now open. How's this going to go on this battle? Coming down into Lacombe. Jake on the rear of the Red Bull. Remco wants that inside line. It's going to be late on the brakes for the Ferrari, but it's a smooth defense from the Dutchman. Meanwhile, Money on those soft compound tires. Jake needs to really pick and choose his battles right now because Money has no damage on that front end, and the soft tires are quicker at the moment. Nigel and Steph. Nigel on the inside of the Renault as we make our way down the hill. This is very tight battling here around the outside. Now Steph's giving him the space. Nigel's going to get through, or is he? Coming down through Pouan. Still wheel to wheel between these two. Nothing in it for these guys. Wisp is having a look, and it's still Nigel ahead of the Renault. Ooh, a little bit of a tap.
A little bit of a tap. They're all squirreling around the place. They're coming through sector 2.
Cotters had a snap, and he went off. Alex Bido's inherited a position behind all of this action. Let's jump to the front for a moment. Jake is on the Dutchman, hunting him down here. Absolutely hunting him down in this Ferrari. Look at the move. Wheel to wheel coming down into the chicane, but it's all for nothing. The safety car has been deployed, and that is, I do believe, Burke with no front wing on the McLaren, and Mikal has had an issue. Or has he? He is behind this grid for a significant amount, but that's because of the pit stop. So the pit stop that Mikal took to get onto those hards is going to net him some serious positions here, as he's not too far behind these pit drivers. You see Zamis has come in, Remco Van Putten has come in, Alex Bido has come in. So this race is what has happened in these first 4 laps? It's been absolutely wild.
Someone's had an issue. Oh, no, ignore me. I thought that was a Renault stationary. It's not, it's a safety car. Goodness me. The safety car was just parked at the entrance of Eau Rouge. But yeah, this start of this race has been very crazy, and I think a lot of these drivers, they either missed the pit entrance or they're just deciding not to pit, and especially for the medium runners here, I think if I was them, I just want to inherit positions from those who come into the pits. I think it's a little bit early to come into the pits at this stage of the race.
Well, okay. We have 7 drivers remaining on soft compound tires in this race. If they get a safety car from now to lap 10, I think it's a good call. If they don't, anybody on the mediums that chooses not to pit, or anybody that did choose to pit under safety car conditions, they have tightened themselves up to this grid. They have fresher rubber. They're going to have good pace. So it's a big strategy jumble now because of all of these differences in the pace of the tires, the life of the tires. The safety car coming out at this precise lap has really given these drivers something to think about. And you know what? Steph has something even more to think about. He just took a drive-through penalty, Unicorn.
Yeah, getting penalties, we've seen that come into play. but that drive-through is not going to be applied at the end of this race, and you can't serve it under the safety car either. And now you can see all of the front runners are coming into the pits, apart from Shenjay. Shenjay staying out. I'm interested to see what his teammate Money does, as Codis has had another issue, it would seem. The AlphaTauri spinning around, but here we go. How many positions? Oh, they're like, look at, where's Ben gonna? Is it
you
Ben?
know what I
no,
didn't,
Benson.
you know what I didn't even realize in this unicorn. You know what I didn't even realize from this.
What have I missed? What have we missed?
Well, the leader didn't catch the safety car. Safety car came out behind everybody. So Shenjay's gotten, you know, all of these guys have come into the pit lane now, and they're gonna come out, and it's. I feel like this has been. Those drivers, they didn't pit because I don't think they had the opportunity to pit. The safety car has now only just been caught. So the strategy has been even more shifted. And look at all the drivers getting onto hards here. Alex Bido, Tillman Sever, Freeware, ZZ9, Ben, all onto the hards with potentially, you know, 1 to 2 more safety cars here. This is absolute dynamics, strategy dynamics, pace dynamics. It's all coming into play today. The only thing that we haven't seen just yet, which we may see now that we've had the safety car, is rain.
This safety car, it's just put this spanner in the works, like you said, and we've now got a mix of these drivers. I don't know whether I would have gone onto the hards though. I think someone like Zamus or Fraser, who've just gone onto fresh mediums, they're going to be dangerous if we get a second safety car, regardless of when it is. Because now that they've gone onto these mediums, they're going to be a little bit quicker than the guys on the hards, and that's going to pay back big time. If we have a safety car anywhere in the laps in the teens, I think they're going to have an absolute laugh, because they're just going to pit onto some fresh softs, and they'll have had the pace advantage on everyone else. And I fully anticipate that we're going to see a second safety car at least here over the course of the next 17 laps.
What is
so
everybody,
I don't think the hards are the calls.
What does everybody in the chat think? Give us a number. If Yoda's with us, perhaps you can get us a poll going there. Let's see what we've got. What do you guys think about safety cars? 1 safety car, 2 more safety cars, no more safety cars? What do we think here? Because we're only here on lap 5. We're going around. Actually, sorry, we're going around. We're going to be green flag on lap 7, because we've just began lap 6. Because it was only on lap 5 that we caught the safety car, technically speaking. So this is going to be the first full lap that we get to go around the safety car. I have no doubt in my mind that Burke and Cotters are going to be able to catch up with this. Alex Bido has actually come into the pit lane ahead of Burke to switch over from fresh hards to fresh mediums. That's a very interesting move here. And another thing I'm surprised with is that Mikow didn't come off of those hards either.
Alex Bido's getting onto those fresh mediums. I'm not surprised. Like I said, I think the mediums are the call here. I want to know what Shenjay and Money can do at the front of those softs. They're the only 2 drivers left on him.
It's going to be tough for Shenjay. He's got Jake in that Ferrari, right up his gearbox on that set of 5-lap-old mediums. Money is in there as well. That's his teammate, his rear gunner, essentially. It's to hopefully, you know, stave off Mito. But, you know, look at Ben. He's got fresh rubber. He's in 5th. He's just like, okay, this is going to be easy. That's guaranteed what's going through Ben's mind right now. But the thing with Ben is, he's not in lead of this race. We've seen him on these restarts absolutely gun it. Now he's got to cut through traffic, and the traffic isn't slow.
I'm very surprised that Ben didn't actually pit for these mediums, because he was in the lead. He's come out in, you know, a very good position here. Shenjay and Money on the softs, they're going to be the fastest cars on track. We saw Domi, I want to say yesterday, not pit under the early safety car, stayed out on the softs, and he really did pull out an absolutely astonishing lead.
Look at that flashing yellow light above the safety car. It was blinking. Now it's out. So Shenjay is going to get some heat into those tires. He is going to begin to become effectively the safety car until we reach the start-finish line. getting all of these drivers slowed down. Everyone weaving, getting their tires warmed up here. More important for the medium and hard runners to get temperature into these tires than it is for the softs. It takes a little bit more time.
Ben's just lost an end plate.
Well, and Shenjay's gone. So Shenjay has absolutely gunned it. You've said Ben's lost an end plate. That's going to cost him even more so now that he's on these hards. Shenjay's launched it. We've seen this before. Ben the Bear wrote the book on this start that we've seen at the very least in MRL. And take a look. Shenjay's a second ahead of Jake, and that's going to give him a very good opportunity. But Nigel, very, very tight. Ben comes in. He's just come right in. He says, I got to get this wing off. He's going to get onto the mediums anyway. He's got the ability to do so. He's got the pace that can get him back into this grid. We'll have to see. He says no. He's going to go on softs. Softs to the end here, Unicorn. What a gamble. So he needs another safety car here. Nigel has a threat of ZZ9 coming down the Kemmel Straight. ZZ9 has Wisp not too far behind him. Fraser is going to be looking at Tillman. We're going to switch on with that. They're wheel to wheel as we move down into Lacombe. How are things going to go for these guys? Tillman holds on for now, ahead in 11th position. But everything's been closened up on this grid, tightened up, if you will. And there's going to be a lot of moves coming through here on the next couple of laps. Freeware, speaking of moves, is going to be very tight to the rear of Wisp.
Ben the Bear now on those soft compound tyres. There's an issue. Freeware picks up a 3-second penalty going wide through Corn. As we've got a yellow flag, that's the Haas of Tim and Sever. He's come off through Rouen. But
no damage. No damage on that Haas. Very fortunate. Just some tire wear, perhaps. Freeware.
Jake is doing very well right now.
Jake is staying well away from money. And that's very important considering the soft compound tires. Freeware and Wisp now. Wheel to wheel coming down into the chicane. That's Wisp on the inside. Now it's going to come through for the AlphaTauri to have the inside line. He squeezes off that Haas and says, I want this P8. Thank you very much. And Zamis wants P9 from him. Coming down through into La Source.
Mito's off somewhere.
Mito's had a big issue here, and it's just outside of turn 1. His car is horizontal, waiting for drivers to move on through. There's a Haas coming ahead. Tauman. Tough luck there for him. Of course, Zamis now in the rear, in the slipstream of Freeware, sticking quite well. And Zamis has been on an absolute charge. One key thing to note here between Zamis and Freeware, Zamis is on the quicker rubber at the moment. Nigel and Steph. This is where we've seen Nigel take quite a few moves on Steph already. On the inside, coming down the hill, is the Williams. It's Deja Vu. We saw it already earlier in this race. Around the outside. Is he going to get it done again? They're wheel to wheel. Once again, these two drivers have been doing the tango down through Pouan this entire race. And Shenjay's had a big issue, and it's another safety car here, and Ben is going to be happy about that. Wow. Just outside Pouan.
This is a very interesting safety car because most of the drivers are on the fresh tyres. They can stay out as long as they want. But tyres to the end now, Ben, he would be so hard pressed to take these softs at the end, but I do think it's possible, so they'll be in the back of his mind. It depends how hard he races on them. However, mediums to the end from here, very possible. Very, very possible. So, is someone like Jake going to come in for... No, Jake's not. Money is. I'm surprised Jake didn't, to be fair. This is the oh, wait, no, he can't. Jake couldn't have come in for fresh mediums. So Jake is forced to stay out. Unless he wanted the hards, which, if he'd done that, he would have done it last time. So, Jake's hand sort of forced here. Having to stay out. He needs another safety car.
He hasn't stopped. He hasn't stopped. Wisp has made it through into 5th position after we saw him struggling. And I'm sure he's going to be thrilled about that, but he hasn't stopped either.
Yeah, I think these guys are banking on another safety car from lap
Looks like we've got some
Comfortably
overtaking shenanigans under safety car conditions between Tillman and Money.
I'm going to throw a fairly, oh, we do indeed, outlandish prediction out here. I wouldn't be surprised, I'm not saying they will, but I wouldn't be surprised if either Jake or Wisp comes in at the end of this safety car and pits for softs, depending on how long the safety car is. If we get to lap 11 and we're still under safety car conditions, which I don't think we're going to see.
I think we may even see it come in at the end of this lap.
It's possible. Ben is still trying to catch it. Ben's pitted.
Well, yeah, and Ben's pitted to the mids. He's gotten that wing changed. And the big question here is now, if him and Burke, sorry, excuse me, if him and Mito, I thought it had been Burke there, but Burke has now advanced himself back into 10th position. What a up and down race for the McLarens here. But if Ben and Mito are able to jump back behind the rear of this safety car in time, because the safety car, it's going to cross this sector 2-3 split in about 10 seconds. And when it does, we'll know. Burke is very close, so is Ben. These cars are going to slow down anyway. I think we may see it come in. They might give us the late call down through Blanchemont as these drivers catch the grid, but everybody is in this grid. I'd like to see it come in now. You know? If it stays out another lap, that opens up a different level of strategy, I think, as you said, for Jake and Wisp. On these mediums, they could technically gamble a set of softs.
Surely they're not going to call it in now. It's so late.
So it's definitely going around again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, it's such a risk if... Okay, Jake's not done it. Wisp's not doing it either. Again, I don't think it's not going to go around another lap for sure. So I don't think that it's going to happen for these guys. It's a possibility. 12 laps on a fresh set of softs. Definitely possible.
Well,
so
what I would do in this case is... Oh, it's so tough. It's so tough because I'd say get onto a set of, another set of mediums, but that eliminates, the potential to go to the end of the race on that set. I think that Jake is, like you said, very stuck.
There's not a lot of opportunities for these guys. These two safety cars have come out at inopportune moments for the pair of them. The first one maybe for the hards, but now it's too close to that borderline between the mediums and the softs going to the end. And these guys' hand being forced, they can't go from mediums to the end. They want to go to softs. Starting on the medium tire, you don't want to have to use the hards at any point during the race. So around Spa, I think it's entirely possible. We've still got 17 drivers in this race, and they're going to be close as well for the next few laps. So I think it's entirely possible we see another safety car. And if you're Jake or Wisp, your fingers are going to be very much crossed. To be fair, there's a few other drivers on here. Zamus as well, I think, could benefit from another safety car if he could get onto some fresh softs. Depending on what sort of... This safety car is interesting because it's just sort of bunched everyone up. So, and everyone's now on fresh tyres. Oh, for sure. This isn't going to end for at least 5 laps.
I think
everyone's going to be exchanging.
Somebody may not be happy that I want to suggest this, but I almost feel like following Ben the Bear on the restart. With a guy like that at the rear of this grid. Lap 11 is when we're going green, okay? Lap 11, write this down. Lap 11, we're going to be going green flag racing. And the Bear position, 17th. We'll check back in a few laps.
There it is. There's the call. It's official. Safety car's coming in, and let's not forget Mikau as well. Mikau's in 15th right there.
Mikau is also one of those drivers.
He can make some moves.
Well, Mikau and Ben the Bear fighting yesterday, so maybe they'll be fighting all their way through the grid. Like a little tag team.
Now, when does Jake go? Jake, unlike Shenjo when he was restarting this race, doesn't have the sauce, but he is going to go before the chicane. An interesting decision for the Ferrari, because ZZ9 behind him might have a little bit more traction, but it's not going to be the case. A nice restart from the Ferrari.
Has been a very tame restart, as I say it. Steph's been disqualified. No. It's the drive-through penalty. It's done him in, Unicorn.
Yeah, that's not something that you want to see. I think that could have been genuine driver error. He just doesn't realise that he had to say it. I certainly wouldn't have been aware because of how many safety cars there have been.
The way that works is, and I hope Steph, I'm very sorry to see that, my friend. Of course, we're staying tuned into what's happening in the front of this grid, but the way you need to serve a drive-through penalty through a safety car restart is you must wait until the circuit flags turn green and enter the pit lane as the safety car restart is occurring. That's the only way you can do that, and it does cost you a lot of time, it does cost you a lot of position, but it keeps you in the race. Remco Van Putten is under serious threat right now. Excuse me, that's Fraser with Remco Van Putten putting him under serious threat. It's a wheel-to-wheel exchange. This is intensity. I can't even find words, and there's a collision. There goes the Red Bull. That's a very bad place to lose it. He gets things turned back onto circuit. That's going to bring up a yellow flag, and that's Burke and Cotters. What's happened to them? They have come together. It's the McLaren and the AlphaTauri out of this race, and this is deployed a VSC. Remco Van Putten with damage is going to be thankful to catch the grid, but he won't be thankful to, well, he may not even catch the grid here, but he may get a pit stop in. This is so dynamic. This race has been so up and down, Unicorn. I don't even know what to make of it at this point. There's only 14 drivers out of 19 remaining.
Yeah, I didn't catch what happened between Burke and Cotters either, so not quite sure what's happened to the pair of them going through Blanchimont, but Ben, he's made it to P12 right now as a result of these. Mikau as well in 11th, just ahead of him.
We're about to go back to green flags, and one thing to note here, Zamis very tight to the rear of Freeware, Tillman very tight to the rear of Money, and Mikau is hunting down Nigel. They're going to get green flagged straight as they come out of the Kemmel Straight, and we're going to jump ahead to this field in just a second here. It's going to be Wisp looking at Zamis, Freeware just ahead of them looking at ZZ9, but it's going to be Mikau doing what Nigel's been doing the entire of this race. Coming down the hill, Mikau around the outside. He gets it very neatly done on Nigel. Ben the Bear along the inside coming down through Pouan. This could get very touch and go for these racers, but Ben the Bear dispatches the Williams, and now Ben the Bear has to hunt down Mikau and try to follow through as he punches his way through this field. Fraser in 6th position, wanting to catch up with Wisp, I imagine. He is on 6-lap old mediums. Wisp has not yet pit in this race.
Yeah, Wisp and Jake, they're going to have that tricky decision. When do they come into the pits? They're going to be banking for that safety car that we keep speaking about, but so far I expect to see them out for another few laps at least on these tyres. Alright, DRS is back on the menu for these drivers.
That's great news for these drivers in the fight for the final points position on the rear of Mikau and Tillman. Money's actually leading a train right now. We're going to take a look at the run of Fraser. He has the fresher rubber. He's getting a lot of speed coming up through Eau Rouge right now. He's utilizing a little bit of overtake coming up to get some acceleration into those tires for this long run down the Kemmel Straight here. DRS, but no battery in utilization. He does not need to use a lot of battery to still gain time on Wisp. Wisp, meanwhile, is still within the slipstream and DRS of Zamis ahead. That's going to give him a unique opportunity to defend off from the Mercedes here. But look at the gap. It's less than 2 tenths, less than 3 tenths right now as we move down through Sector 2. And there's just so much action and tight pressure happening and unfolding on this grid right now. Fraser can't make any mistakes. He's got Alex Bitto in that Ferrari charging on his rear. He's on a lap fresher mediums. And then it's Mikau on the rear of Tillman, the Haas, coming down through Pouan.
Yeah, Alex Bitto's just been watching Fraser and waiting. Fraser made a little bit of a lock-up into turn 10, and Alex had a look but realised that that wasn't quite the moment he was looking for. But he's ready and waiting for Fraser to just try and battle out Wisp, who's going to put on a defence. Wisp's tyres won't be at the cliff yet. Far from it, in fact, and they're not much older than Fraser's. They are old, they will be a little bit less useful to him, but you can see now, gunning down this back straight. He's just defending against Fraser, showing him the outside into the first corner of the chicane. And Alex Biddle is going to be here to mop up the pieces if this goes wrong for them. But Alex Biddle taking a little bit too much inside curb. Fraser, a bit of a wheel spin. He's got the move done on Wisp, but here comes Alex Biddle looking up the inside of the Haas into turn 1. And that's the Ferrari up into P6. He's, just been given an open door there.
Well, here's the big problem. Here's the big problem. Mikau has taken Tillman, and I just want to take a second. Ben the Bear is going to get Tillman as well. But the big key thing here for Alex Biddle is Fraser isn't going to have DRS down Kemmel. We're going to jump on with the Ferrari now. P5 is on the menu here for the Spaniard. As we come down, Fraser defending to the inside. There's action happening all throughout, but of course Alex Biddle squeezing him off. What a neat move from the Ferrari. It was textbook from him, and he gets it done as we come through. Tillman and Mikau have had a little bit of an issue, it looked like, for a minute. No, that was Wisp and Money. Tillman and Mikau now, everything is happening very, very intense coming down through the hill. Tillman losing out to Ben as well. Ben the Bear is just following Mikau through, letting Mikau squeeze through and open the doors for him.
Yeah, Mikau's actually just been put under a little bit of pressure. Obviously, like you said, he got Tierman down into turn 1, but then Tierman was like, I'm not letting you go that quickly, and challenged him through turn 7. So that sort of kept Ben the Bear in this fight a lot more easily, because Mikau's been held up by a Haas that really he doesn't want to be battling at all. His real fight's the charging ball behind him. He doesn't want to be wasting time on these guys, but racing is racing. It doesn't matter where you are on this grid right now. It's all very tight.
Zamis very tight to the rear. Freeware here. It's Freeware tight to the rear of ZZ9, and it's Jake. He's come in, Unicorn. This is a battle for race wins now. ZZ9 under major threat from the German, the American, and the Renault for once coming down through turn 1. Lasauce playing iconic to so many moments here in Formula 1 right now. Ben the Bear and Mikau charging through. It is Money, the bottleneck in this train. Alex Biddle, who dispatched Fraser like a legend coming through Lacombe last lap round, is going to be looking to get into this podium fight, but it's Freeware now with the DRS. We're coming down the Kemmel straight. He's not utilizing that battery as we've seen it. They don't need to. They want to put that car ahead into a position to use that battery. Big shout out to Mr. Dirk Chocolate with the rate of 17. Welcome to Club Division.
Yeah. Money now is the sticking point between Ben and Mikau, but Ben on the same tyres as Money, so his traction isn't going to be too much of an advantage down through turn 10. That's where we've seen him dispatch some of these guys on the hard compound tyres or older mediums, but now Money's still in front of the Red Bull, and he's not going to be as easy to dispatch. This is where the guy is going to get it a little bit more difficult for Ben, and you can see Mikau is taking full advantage of this situation, currently in 6th place, sitting out in front, and because he doesn't have any traffic, he's just being able to breeze away, but
he needs this.
Money.
This is massive for Mikau. If he's able to get out of Money's DRS range, break that chain, it could pay in huge for him in his fight against Ben the Bear. But Ben the Bear has other plans. Down through the inside now. As we make our way through in Blanchemont, Ben the Bear is going to stick as best he can within that DRS of Mikau coming through out of turn 19 into La Sauce, and it's just going to be a good run for him. But is Money going to have something to say about it? They're on the same tires, Unicorn.
That was super nice ERS usage from Ben. He used just the right amount to get past the Alfa Romeo, and he's still got a competitive amount compared to Mikau as well. So now, within 4/10 of the Australian ahead of him, Ben's going to be looking, is this the lap that we see in the battle? Is Ben just going to hold off a little bit here? Allow Mikau to continue being this snowplow through the grid that he's been? I don't think he is. He's using ERS. They're both using ERS, but it's Ben with the rear wing open, flying past the racing point. They're going to be... Well, they're not going to be side by side through turn 7. And Ben is already into P6, and now this is where the fighting starts, as Freeware's had an issue.
Yeah, he's spun it coming out of Lacombe through here, and these drivers, Mikau and Ben, have just passed him by. He's going to drop positions, and it's not going to be a happy moment for him. Freeware now has Nigel barking up his rear. Nigel has been really wanting to get camera time coming down the hill here. He gets it through on the struggling AlphaTauri, and there we have it, the clear picture of the damage on the front left. Mito has dispatched him as well. And what a fight it was with him in the podium positions. He's not going to be thrilled about this at all. Nigel is going to have to deal with a charging McLaren. That's Mito, 6-lap mediums versus the hards, but he's on the curb. A little bit of a slide. He's going to lose some time here. Things are so intense after 2 safety cars in this one, Unicorn.
Yeah, and speaking of safety cars, Wisp in dire need of one. Jake would make nice use of one as well. Mikau is dropping. Ben the Bear is doing what he does best and putting out a gap. It's not going to be enough to get rid of DRS, though, to the car behind, and they've pretty much caught Fraser. I don't think Ben's going to have the DRS yet on the Mercedes ahead of him, as Freeware and Tierman. Freeware very wide. Tierman into the pits. Freeware as well.
Yeah, no doubt for Freeware there. Not very easy to drive a circuit like Spa with a big portion of downforce missing on that front wing. One thing I want to take note of, lap 11, the driver in P17 was Ben the Bear. Welcome to lap 17. Things have been really reversed for him. He's in P5, and he is pulling away, or doing the best to pull away from Mikau. But it's Fraser ahead who has to deal with Mikau and Ben, as he is in P4 with the charging Red Bull right behind him.
Yeah, Mikau's not going to let him go. He knows Ben's going to do exactly what Mikau was doing for Ben just a few laps ago, where he's going to be the one who's punching the way through the grid, opening doors that maybe aren't going to close quite as quickly as the driver opening them would like. But Ben is stuck at a nice 8/10 gap between him and Mikau, so any move he makes isn't going to be instant for the Australian to follow through, and that could really aid him, especially if he can overtake Fraser on the Kemmel straight. Now Mikau, if he gets stuck behind Fraser, similarly to how Ben got stuck behind Money for a moment, that would be very, very useful for Mikau, who is now charging up a little bit more battery than Ben in the Red Bull ahead.
Yeah, Ben, not a lot of battery right now. He really wants to dispatch Fraser. Ben, you see, doesn't have the ability to just wait around here. He wants to catch up with ZZ9. And we have 5 laps to go. It's just such a tight battle we have for podium positions here. Fraser within a 1.5 seconds of the runners ahead. Penalties can play a role considering how tight all of these gaps are. One thing to talk about was last lap, Freeware took a 3-second time penalty coming through Lacombe. Tillman Sever is right on his gearbox within half a second. But talking about gearboxes, let's see Ben try and take care of Fraser, Zamis, and Alex Bitto. It's Zamis with an exchange with Alex Bitto. Fraser and Ben the Bear wheel to wheel now. Ben the Bear really wants to get this move done. It's Fraser on the curbs. He's looking to fight back, but it's Ben clear ahead of Fraser now. And this fighting can't happen too long for Ben, because it's going to bring Mick out into the fold, and it's too late. There he is in the racing point.
Well, I was about to say that Alex Bitto fighting Zamis might be Ben's greatest help in this race, but Alex seems to be already putting a little bit of a gap, although Zamis getting a nice exit out of Puon. But yeah, Ben now, he's done exactly what he had to do. He's put Fraser between him and Mikau out of the Kemmel straight, and that's just going to allow him to sort of create this gap. And I think that the gap right now, Mikau, if Fraser was to just let him pass, obviously that wouldn't happen, would not have DRS on Ben. So this is what Ben needs. This is the run he wants. And Zamis has not let go of Alex Bitto. He's going to have DRS. So those two are going to continue to battle, and that's going to allow Ben to really have a good look at the high scoring positions, the podium.
The big thing here is ZZ9 has Alex Bitto, Zamis, Ben the Bear, and Mikau all hunting down that race win. Penalties could play a role here in this race. Of course, we're not entirely sure how that looks right now, but the big thing to talk about here is ZZ9 is driving the Mercedes ship, and you've got Fraser there. His job in this position now has been to act as that tail gunner here to try and keep these guys away. He's doing a good job, but it's just not good for Mikau. Mikau gonna have a run now, but that DRS of Fraser sticking with Ben, it's gonna cost him that kind of momentum that he needs to get a position. Meanwhile, no problems for Nigel. He gets money. Mito has a look. It's a lunge. Ooh, he gets back on the rear of the Alpha. That could have been real touch and go for these two. But Mito has shown his hand. Money knows he's under threat from the McLaren now, as Nigel is going to try to escape through. Money with a lockup. Mito, he smells the blood in the water.
Well, looking at the penalty situation for the top 5, if Ben has cleared the 5-second penalty he got...
There it is from ZZ9! He's taken 3 seconds. Boom! Have a nice day. So let's bring us up to speed.
Yeah, let's just recap there what's just happened. So, before ZZ9 took that penalty, Ben, provided he served the 5-second penalty, he has pitted since then, so I would imagine that he has. Alex Biddo and Zamas both have 3 seconds, and Zamas as well is very close to getting another one in terms of warnings. ZZ9's just picked one up as well, and doesn't have that big of a gap between him and Ben in terms of 3 seconds. So if Ben has served that, he right now is about 1 second off the lead of this race.
There's a retirement. Tillman, for starters, has spun around heading into the Sector 2-3 split here, and Freeware is out of this race. But it's too late for a safety car.
A safety car right now would, I think, throw a huge spanner in the works. I think if we had a safety car now, I think we'd see Fraser in about P2 come the end of it, if penalties don't change. Speaking of Fraser, he's got a familiar sight in his wing mirrors. It's Mikau now, looking on the outside into Lecon, but he's not going to have it. Fraser, nice and late on the race. That's actually cost Mikau a lot of time. Money, a little bit more successful into Lecon. He's got past Mito just before the corner.
Yeah, Money and Mito continuing their exchange here and their fight for 2 additional points. There's a big lockup from Money once again. Mito, once again, having a peak, but it's not enough for the moment. We'll see what Mito can do in a moment's time. Let's jump back on with Ben the Bear. Zamas is his target. Zamas running 3rd in that Renault. He can see that charging bull in his rearview mirrors, but he has the Ferrari ahead of him that he wants to stay focused with just as well. The only problem in this equation is Ben's on the freshest rubber, Unicorn.
Zamas is at risk of slipping out of that DRS range of Alex Biddo a little bit. I think he should just be able to keep it. He's going to have DRS down the start-finish straight, and that will hopefully hold him in until the Kemmel Straits DRS zone. But Ben now, right behind these guys, and he is now about 2/10 off of where he needs to be in terms of position to ZZ9 if he wants to cross this line and come home in 1st place. We've got to remember Mikau is still behind Fraser as well, so that is absolutely music to Ben's ears. I wonder if Mikau actually has any penalties. That would have been an excellent thing to look at. He doesn't. Mikau has 1 warning that he got on lap 1, but other than that, he is completely free. A very clean race from the Australian. But here we go, Ben the Bear with DRS looking at Zamas. Zamas, though, both of these drivers actually pretty much no battery, and Zamas is going to absolutely hold him off.
This is a big problem for Ben.
Yeah, that's going to cost him big time.
He needs to clear that car. And Zamas, he's tricky. He knows how to drive this guy. Of course, Zamas, the founder of the Misfits. It all started with him. So it's nice to see him in the podium positions every now and then, and he's got some very fast company to contend with here in Club Division, but he's been doing quite well. We've seen him go for some very long stints on some tires, but he has the charging tie driver right in his rear view, and we're on the penultimate lap, and if Ben doesn't clear this guy, we have a ton of drivers on this grid with penalties. Things are going to get shaken up massively, as you said, Unicorn.
Yeah, Ben needed to slingshot past Zamas into the DRS range of Alex Biddo, because the gap between Alex and ZZ9 is still 2.2 seconds, so I don't think there's any way, unless ZZ9 has an issue. Speaking of issues, Mito out of the session. But Ben needs to clear Zamas. He might go for it into the chicane. This is risky. If this goes wrong for Ben, even if it just holds him up, this is going to cost him, because they right now are out of DRS range of Alex Biddo, but Ben has the DRS on Zamas.
And the squeeze.
This is when he needs to do it.
The squeeze took a 3-second time penalty for Zamas there, coming off that curbing in that fight, and you hate to see those fights come through with penalties because you love the intensity, and it was a very clean move, I think, on Ben. I think Zamas will watch it back and say, it was just a hair on the curb. Maybe there was a little bit of space for him to kind of get tighter in. But
Ben doesn't have DRS.
Well, he doesn't have DRS. Zamas has DRS, and he has a little bit of battery. But Ben the Bear is going to hold that inside line. Does Zamas look for the outside? Does he get later on the brakes? Yes. Yes, he looks for it, but it's not enough. Can we see it coming through Blanchemont? Let's take a look at Fraser and Mikau. Mikau is into 5th.
ZZ9's been pulling some stellar lap times out of the bag, though. And it's almost a 3-second gap to Alex Biddo, let alone Ben the Bear. I don't think Ben's got the win here. I think he might get P3. P2, sorry, but I don't think he's going to get the win.
Well, let's set the stage here. It's ZZ9 leading this race in the Mercedes. He has started this race on pole position. He has done a fantastic job to maintain lead of this race after a very dynamic safety car. Well, a group of safety cars in this race. Alex Biddo in the Ferrari has made up 4 positions. Ben the Bear has lost out on his front row starting slot and is hunting down the Ferrari as best he can. He is within 1 second. It's a battle for podiums. It's a battle for the win here in Spa. It's round 14 of Club Division. ZZ9 coming down through into the chicane. We're going to have to start taking a look at how things go for these racers as Zamis is under major threat coming down into the final chicane. Unicorn around the outside, back to the inside for Mikau coming through. He's going to get Zamis at the line, and Fraser's going to cross right behind them. And that's ZZ9 with the race win. Even with the penalties here in Belgium. Ben the Bear in 2nd position. It's Mikau with a podium. That's Fraser in 4th. Zamis in 5th. Jake crossing here to take 6th. It's Nigel in 7th. It's Money in 8th. With Alex Biddo dropping all the way back down to 9th with Wisp coming across as the last driver to finish in the top 10. But is it going to be enough here? I think Alex Biddo got pushed all the way out of the points, but it's because of the desync, I believe. So, stewards, of course, are going to have to review. You hate to see the desync play with the timing tower like that one, Unicorn, but man, what a move from Mikau on Zamis coming through the final chicane on the final lap of this race. It's ZZ9 with the win.
Yeah, I don't think Mikau needed to make that move, but the flair's what counts, and I'm sure he wanted that move done on track just as much as he wanted the position once he'd crossed the line, but Zamis' penalties there costing him, but Ben the Bear not quite making it to the top spot. Still a stellar drive from the Thai driver, but ZZ9 a very well-deserved race win there.
ZZ9 with the win, Ben the Bear in 2nd. After penalties and all said and done here, Mikau from 7th to 3rd. It's Fraser 5th to 4th. Zamis from 13th to 5th. Of course, I do want to say that these standings are provisional, as stewards will have to review the issue with Alex Biddo's time. He did apparently take a penalty or some kind of time desync. We'll have to take a look at that. He only has 3 seconds, and he did finish in the top 5, of course. So Fraser there in 4th. Zamis from 13th to 5th. Jake 12th to 6th. We have 19th to 7th. For Nigel, 17th to 8th. It's just been such a dynamic race, and you love to see it. It was actually Freeware who was quickest around here, but he unfortunately crashed out the car. Hate to see it, but it was a very, very good race. That was thrilling, and Clubs has been providing us with some very, very thrilling campaigns this season, and that was a fantastic 14th round for sure.
Yeah, and I think Jake and Wisp, we didn't really see much of them after that pit stop. They didn't get that 3rd safety car that they needed. The softs didn't pull them back in, but Jake still finished 6th, kind of under the radar there. I don't think he did too much battling. I think he was more just inheriting positions from mistakes. But yeah, a nice result from Jake, and he was having a very, very solid drive, and the strategy's paid off there, gaining 6 positions. So I don't think we spoke much about him after that pit stop in the last 7 or so laps, but good drive from him. Good drive all around from most people. Obviously, a few mistakes here and there, but a very clean endeavour as well. I think that was a big takeaway from me on that front. They did really well. Keeping the overtakes nice.
It was... I don't have a lot of ability to speak left after that one. That was nonstop. That was nonstop action, even with the safety cars. We're looking at the safety cars, we're talking. The strategy that was coming into play in this race was massive. The penalty involvement near the end was massive, and it really provided us with an exciting race. It was an exciting race, and I thoroughly hope everybody that's been tuning in enjoyed it. Of course, as always, we are going to head off and rate a member of the F1 2020 stream community, which is something that we love to do on a regular basis. So we hope you'll join us in doing that. Of course, before we do so, we have a couple of final messages for you. If we are going to have, actually, before we go, I need to double check something here, because tomorrow we do have an endurance series race for you. A 100% distance endeavor, reduced damage with regular corner cutting. It's a lot of fun. Unicorn and I have done quite a few of these races now. And I do believe it's a toss-up between Australia and... I can't remember the other circuit now. If somebody in the chat could help me.
Do you believe Australia won? So it was Mexico and Australia. I do believe that Australia won a dice roll, I think.
Okay. But yes.
But yeah, it was between Australia or Mexico. Those are the two that were
Australia.
thrown around.
All right, so we are going for the endurance series where the Formula One season should have began. We're going to Melbourne, or as the Australians say, Melbourne. We're going to Melbourne. Okay. If Mikhal's in the chat, I'm sure he'll get a good kick out of that. Going to Melbourne tomorrow. It's the MRL Endurance Series, 100% distance racing action. We hope you guys tune in. It begins at 11 p.m. BST. It's fairly late for the UK, but it is a Saturday evening ahead of Formula One racing action. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe you guys will want to jump in and hang out for that. But thank you so much, guys. Take care, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow. If not, we are back next week. Misfits Racing League action. We're going to the Temple of Speed. It's going to be Monza. It's going to be a lot of fun. Have a great, great evening.